You know that feeling? That creeping sense of anxiety that just comes out of nowhere and you can't point to a single reason why it's happening? It's so frustrating, even a little scary, right? When it feels like your own body is sending out these distress signals for no obvious reason. Well, today we're going to dig into why that might be and how looking at it from a different angle can actually help find some real answers.
And this is the question, isn't it? The one so many of us ask. It's not just about getting rid of the racing heart or the worried thoughts, it's about this deep need to just understand the why. Really, that question is the true starting point for feeling better.
And here's the kicker. According to licensed acupuncturist Melinda Tran, that feeling of not knowing can actually pour fuel on the fire. You get stuck in this crazy feedback loop where you become anxious about being anxious, which, of course, just makes the whole thing worse.
All right, so let's dive into our first section. We're going to look at why this anxiety of not knowing is such a huge piece of the puzzle, a piece that, honestly, sometimes gets overlooked. Okay, so when you think about a conventional approach, it's often, and rightly so, focused on managing symptoms, which is absolutely vital, don't get me wrong. It might look at brain chemistry and give you treatments to help with that, but in that process, the deeper, underlying why that you're so desperately asking about, it might not always be the main event.
And that's what leads us to asking a different kind of why. We're going to explore a different way of looking at things, a framework from traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM, that actually puts finding that why right at the top of the list.
And this slide just lays it all out so clearly. While one approach zooms in on neurochemistry to manage symptoms, the TCM approach is like zooming out with a camera. It looks for patterns across your entire body because it sees anxiety as a signal from a much larger, interconnected system. The goal isn't just to silence the alarm, but to figure out what story the alarm is telling.
So, how do they actually find that story? Well, it all starts with questions. And as Melinda Tran says here, it's their most important tool. A practitioner might ask you about, well, everything. Your sleep, your digestion, if you tend to run hot or cold, or even what time of day your anxiety seems to hit the hardest. All these things that seem totally unrelated, they're all clues.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. We're going to talk about connecting those dots. This is all about how those seemingly random clues can actually come together to paint a very specific picture of what's really going on inside your body.
Just look at this table. This is a perfect example. You could have two people walk into a clinic and they both say, I have anxiety. But look at the difference. Person A feels it as irritability, has tight shoulders, and wakes up like clockwork between 1 and 3 a.m. every night. TCM might call this a liver-qi stagnation pattern. Then you have person B. Their anxiety is more like overthinking, and it comes with fatigue and digestive problems. That points to a completely different pattern, spleen-qi deficiency. See, same word, anxiety, but totally different stories inside the body. And that means they need completely different game plans to get better.
And that's really the crucial point here. Anxiety isn't just happening in your head, all isolated by itself. It's usually a sign that a bigger imbalance is affecting more than one system in your body at the very same time.
Okay, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds a little ancient, right? How does it connect to modern science? Well, that's exactly what this section is about. We're going to build that bridge and look at how something like acupuncture can physically affect your body's main stress control system.
So let's talk about your body's built-in operating system, the autonomic nervous system. It basically has two modes. There's the sympathetic, or fight or flight, that's your gas pedal. And then there's the parasympathetic, or rest and digest, that's the brake for healing and recovery. Chronic anxiety, for a lot of people, is like being stuck in fight or flight, with the gas pedal just floored 24/7.
And this is where that bridge to modern science gets really solid. Research actually shows that acupuncture can help your body flip that switch. It can directly influence something called the vagus nerve, which is like the master controller for your rest and digest system. It has a measurable effect, helping to shift your body out of that high alert state and back into a mode of recovery.
And there's one key chemical player in this whole drama, cortisol. It's our #1 stress hormone. A little bit is fine. It helps us get things done. But, like Melinda Tran says, when you're stressed all the time, those cortisol levels get stuck on high. And that just kicks off this massive domino effect all over your body.
And you can see that domino effect, that cascade, right here. It starts with chronic stress, which leads to elevated cortisol. That cortisol then starts messing with everything, your hormones, your digestion, your immune system, even how you feel pain. This is exactly why anxiety so often comes with a whole list of other physical symptoms. It really is all connected. So where does all this leave us?
Well, in our final section, we're going to see that the real goal here isn't just about feeling better. It's about something way more empowering. It's about finally learning to speak your body's language.
And that is the ultimate goal. As Melinda Tran explains, through this process, patients don't just walk away feeling better. They walk away understanding why they felt bad in the first place. They start seeing the connections between their life, their stress, and their symptoms. It's really an education in their own body.
And this is really the key. When you understand your own specific pattern, like realizing your irritability skyrockets when you skip lunch, for example, you go way beyond just having a diagnosis. It becomes actionable intelligence. You learn how to make little choices every day that support your body and help you manage that stress before it gets overwhelming.
So I want to leave you with this question. If you've been dealing with that unexplained anxiety, maybe it isn't so unexplained after all. Maybe it's actually a collection of signals, a whole story just waiting for you to understand it. What do you think your body might be trying to tell you?
I stopped trying to find a doctor who would listen, and I did this instead. For years, I was doing everything right. Eating clean, exercising, getting 8 hours of sleep, but I was still exhausted. I had constant brain fog, and my hormones felt completely out of whack. Every doctor told me my labs were normal, and it was probably just stress. I was about to give up until I found Holistic Health. It's a free AI wellness tool trained by functional medicine experts. I spent 5 minutes answering questions about everything: my symptoms, my sleep, my digestion, and it built me this. And this was the light bulb moment. It didn't just give me a list of problems, it connected the dots. It showed me how my gut health was likely impacting my hormones and how that was causing the fatigue and the brain fog. It even gave me a clear list of potential root causes, supplements to research, and even the specific lab tests to ask for. Its tip is secure. Over 77,000 people have used it, and it's 100% free to get your blueprint. If you feel like you're not being heard, start here. Understand your body first and then decide your next step.